What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. Power lines that are just kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg. I'm joined today with Kenneth Hines. How you doing today, Kenneth?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Dan?
I'm not too bad. Do people usually just call you Kenneth, or is it more Ken? What's more common?
Either one. Usually just can though.
Okay, cool. That all works. So for those of you in the audience who've never seen a chance encounter before, this is the way it works. What I do is I interview commercial real estate investors, and then I get all the information that other commercial real estate investors really want to get out of them. And those are, first is the motivation for your next commercial deal, why it is that you're going for another property. And then I go through the 6 different roles in a commercial deal, and I say, hey, which one of these is your core competency that you're most likely to contribute to your next GP team. But one thing I think is very important if you're going to be successful in any niche or whatever is being able to effectively introduce yourself. So Kenneth, can you please introduce yourself for the audience, please?
Oh yeah, sure, Dan. And thank you for having me. Ken Hines, retired Army. Spent 23 years in the Army. Moved around a lot, and so during that time, I acquired a bunch of single-family homes where I lived in, then turned to a rental when I left. And so when I retired, I had these single family rentals that, were providing some income, but, were taking up a lot of the time. So I just tried to scale up and transition to the multifamily world. So I moved back here to the East Coast in Pennsylvania. And right now I'm just concentrating on refocusing my portfolio from single family to multifamily.
All right, good stuff. So let's bring on to the first segment, which is the motivation piece. So if I hit this, then I hit this button right here. I should be able to see it, but I have to go over to this and hit this button right. Where's the display? There it is right there. And boom, there it pops up. Sometimes it doesn't cooperate. So sometimes I have some newbies on this show, so it's important to go through the motivations first, because at least they know that. Maybe they don't know the role, but these are the 5 different motivations I've found. 5 is this many. Now you can see my hand. And that's the motivations I've found for why people go through this. So the first one is to preserve their purchasing power. So any family office, anyone who their entire income comes as a result of what their wealth is up to, what their biggest concern is going to be is inflation. And that's because the asset value will go up, and that's fine. But the thing is, you'll end up losing purchasing power pretty quickly if that ends up happening. So there's lots more acquisitions that needs to be done. This is what the REITs are up to. So that's the first motivation. The second motivation is the one that best describes me, which is trading time for wealth. Me, I'm in tech, and so that makes me a high salary earner, but high salary earners are also high income tax earners. So I was sitting there going like, why am I giving half of my money to the government when I could be trading my time directly for wealth, in other words, equity in businesses, and then that way I get the advantageous tax advantages of that. So that's the reason for me. The next reason for most people, this is the most common one, is fast tracking your retirement. Now, there are 2 things that are implied in that. One is that if you're in your early 20s and you're saying you're fast tracking your retirement, I do not believe you. That does not work. The just cash savings in general, they don't keep their value all that well. So you have to have something started before you can say you're fast tracking your retirement. But the other thing that's implied in fast tracking your retirement is that there's an end in sight. Okay. So like you might want to rest on your laurels once you're an accredited investor. Maybe you want to move to some place with a low cost of living like the Philippines or something. But at least there's that idea of one day there's going to be a quitting time. And that's unlike the next motivation, which are the people who just want to buy their entire hometown. They're super ambitious. They're never going to stop hustling. You know, maybe they're looking to get generational wealth so that their grandkids and their great grandkids still are living off of the benefits of this person's work. And it's also great to have a person like this on your GP team, just because you know that they're going to keep on going and hustling. They're not going to move to the Philippines and call it quits. But that brings me to the last motivation that I found, which is some people, they find a sector of society, or maybe it's, you know, an environmental thing or animals or whatever, and they want to further that cause. And they're smart enough to realize that accumulating wealth is by far the best vehicle for making a real impact in society, because you actually have to be able to make a difference financially to make the big difference socially. So those are the 5 different motivations. And Ken, which of those resonate with you the most? What's the combination that best describes you?
I think the combination. I think I started off on the real estate side as a fast track to retirement. While I was in, it was like, hey, the housing, this real estate is going to help pay for my housing when I get out. So that I was sort of earmarking that. But once I got close to retirement and my portfolio started building up, I realized I could probably do a lot more because it was already handling the housing. So I realized it probably wasn't, maximizing or making the most efficient use of those assets. So after I got out and started doing some investing, I wanted 2 things: first, time freedom, and then 2, the ability to give back. So I belong to a couple of veterans masterminds, and one of our things is the Veterans Community Project. It's a thing to help veterans homelessness in the USA. It's a pretty focused thing. So they buy like tiny homes in certain communities and give them to veterans, get them back on their feet for like 18, 24 months. So that's what I'm trying. My long-term goal is help fund that, so we can help mitigate the issue of veteran homelessness.
Yeah, that's such an important thing for everybody to do. You know, we all reap the benefits of the effort, and giving back is a really great thing. So that brings me to the next section here, the next segment, which is the 6 different roles. And if you aren't familiar with commercial deals, this should really help you get it straight and make sure you can communicate effectively when you're talking about commercial deals. So the 6 different roles. The first one, the most straightforward one that people understand, is the repositioner. Of course, I got a ton of glare, so you can barely see it. But a repositioner, what they're up to is they look at a whole whack of different properties. And one of the things they have to do is underwrite it, which is a fancy word that means do the math and find out if the business is actually making money. But you go through all these different properties to find the one that has the most opportunity. The other term that we use for opportunity is upside. How can we make this property bring in more cash than it is right now? That's what a repositioner is looking for. And the 2 main ways that a repositioner will find upside are, one is more efficient operations. So I got this money going down the toilet here because if you reduce those expenses, then it increases the value of the property. But I also mentioned the money going down here because there are parts of operations that might not be so obvious, like bookkeeping, or in my case, the marketing part of the whole scheme, which is to make sure that the vacancy rate on the property stays very low. You have to have new ways to making sure that your buildings are nice and full. So operations is one way to get more upside, but that's not usually going to cut it on its own these days. It'd be called a stabilized property if it is. But the other way that you can get upside is you get a contractor team to make the place nicer so you can charge more in rent. So those guys are fixing it up, making it nicer. The operations are running the thing. Repositioners are finding the thing. But if you're a repositioner like me and you're based on the internet, you're going to need boots on the ground. You're going to need a local who can be there in an hour or 2. And that's not going to be me because I need my passport to go down there. So those are the guys who most people think of when it's a day-to-day thing, but when you're acquiring or doing anything financial, you have to talk to financiers, you have to talk to banks and say, hey, this property that I want to buy costs millions or tens of millions of dollars. Can you please lend me tens of millions of dollars? And what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, so here's the property. Okay, this is who you're going to have running it. Okay, that's all cool. But who's your sponsor? And that one, some coaches, they really skip off over that one and they don't get there until right at the end. And a sponsor, they're vital because if you want to get a loan on, say, like a 350 unit apartment complex, the sponsor has to be in the role, in the fold here. You have to have somebody who already owns a similar asset, or you won't be eligible for the loan. You also have to have a certain amount of liquid cash to show everybody, and then also you need a balance sheet that's worth at least the amount of the loan. But those are the 6 different roles in a commercial deal. So Ken, for you, what's your core competency, or what you're most likely to contribute to the next commercial deal you're involved in?
I would say it'd be a combination of two, the repositioner and then the operations. Like, as a former engineer, like I did data engineering in the Army, numbers and spreadsheets. I really like diving into those. So on the underwriting side, finding where the value is, finding where some inefficiencies are, and then two, on the operation side, how first networking with other investors or other property owners, seeing where they getting efficiencies or adding amenities, like such as like tech packages, the water conservation efforts, smart locks, smart thermostats, stuff like that that bring value to the tenant and increase your NOI. So we're looking at properties, figuring out where the hidden value is, and then executing on the business plan to bring those inefficiencies to bear so you can increase your NOI.
Yep, that's beautiful. And one thing you might not realize, you in the audience there, is if you're not really into this, the way that the valuations work, when you cut an expense, it's not like, okay, great, I make an extra $5 a month or something like that. It actually goes off of the inverse of the cap rate. And so that way, like the boost that you get in the value of property just from a $5 a month change, it's substantial. It's big, big, big. So what Ken is describing is really, really great stuff. So Ken, as far as an ideal property though, we all end up looking at all these different properties all the time, and we have to say no for the ones that don't work out. But could you please describe the property as far as geographic area, unit count, and class that is ideal for you? It's easier for you to say yes and much more difficult to say no to?
Everyone's in the southeast and like southern markets. So my primary markets right now are Kansas City and then in Colorado Springs. And my unit count right now, for a person, I'm trying to take down a couple using the equity I built up in the single families, would be like 10 to 40. And then 10 to 40 units, I would say probably mid B range. That's already stable, semi-stabilized, but there's opportunities to bring it up to like a B plus, A minus through these amenity increases and stuff like that. So that's what I'm concentrating on right now.
Awesome. And as one of my favorite parts about commercial real estate in general is because it's multifaceted. People are so helpful. They're so nice, and because they're always looking for, maybe one day you'll be on my team, or maybe I can refer somebody to you who will then, it'll benefit me. Like it's like a big happy family. But everybody, it seems, can help one particular type of professional more than others. So as far as you go, Ken, if there's somebody out there watching who's in commercial real estate, without enticing investors, because that's against SEC restrictions, can you describe the person who you can help more than anybody else?
Probably an acquisition guy who needs a second set of eyes, or wants somebody to run the numbers for him, figure out what's the going rate in the market, what are some of the operators in the market doing, and so just to run like numbers and figure out is this a good price, and what is the value to be had, like based on the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Ken, if somebody wants to reach out to you, I met you through some meetups that I found through LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website or something that's better?
I know LinkedIn is my best primary point of contact. I'm on there, Kenneth Hines, so feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dan Fredenberg. My background is in the technology side of e-commerce business. So that's mass emailing, like 5 million emails a month, all that sort of stuff. And getting all of the lead acquisitions, the lead capture funnels going, and the online sales funnels. And then, of course, marketing and content creation is basically my forte. And I mentioned before what I do on a GP team. But I have an extra little favor to ask you in the camera there, which is if you look under my hand over here, you'll see a red button and it says subscribe. And it's red because it makes everybody sad. It's a very bad button. The good buttons are gray, and you can turn that button gray by clicking on it, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it does make YouTube end up paying me for these videos instead of, no, hang on, I got that backwards. It makes YouTube pay for these instead of me, and that's why it's better. I'm looking at the light coming out through your window, Ken. It's kind of
I
funny,
know.
right? It's like, oh, it's pretty wild. But yeah. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching, and Ken, this has been amazing getting to know you a little bit better. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Dan, for having me.
Awesome. Boink.